can share the women, we can share the wine. We can share what we got of yours, cause we done shared all of mine.
Welcome to Utah's Fly Corner. Today I'm going to show you how to tie a double wing rusty spinner. I'm going to show you how I tie my spinners. The hook I'm going to be using is a size 16 Dachi 1180. Thread I'm going to be using for the rusty one is a Montana Flyco, rusty brown. It's a nice color, but to do the double wing, now I do the double wing for size 16s, 18s, and 20s. I do a triple wing spinner for sizes, sometimes 16s, but basically 14s and 12s. I'll do a triple. I start the thread right in the middle of the shank. Just start your thread right in the middle of the shank. That will give you your gauge where your first wing needs to start. Wrap back to just about the barb. You can snip your tag off. Now I always use dun for the tails. I use hackle fibers. I don't use microfibrils. I don't care for them one bit. I think hackle fibers do the job just fine. But select off about 6 to 8 hackle fibers. Also on my spinners I don't bother to split the tails. I don't think the fish care one bit that the tails are split. I haven't met a fish that wouldn't take my fly just because the tails weren't split. So I measure for the full length of the body and then full length and a quarter. Spinners generally have long tails on them. But I also never met a fish that cared if it had a short tail on it either. But catch it on my side, let the thread, bring it on top, and then sneak a turn underneath, pull it forward, and one more turn over to anchor. That's going to splay the tails nicely. That's the overall what we were going for there. Get that guy out of there, I don't like that guy. Tighten that back up. Okay, I'm going to tie in the rib. I like to use is the rusty brown uni. It's a different color tone of rust. Just cut off a length of thread. And just catch it in with one turn. Watch your tails, don't mess them up. And then I'm just going to wrap the body. The body on my spinners sizes 16 and down I only do thread. I build it up a little bit there, give it a little bit of a taper. It doesn't really matter. You can tie them straight. The fish won't mind. I take the uni and I twist it to make it cord up. And I don't know on the video if you'll be able to make this out, but you can definitely make it out. Gives it a nice like bite effect in a way. Just breaks up the tone. Helps give it a little more realistic colors than just a straight color. Okay. So what I'm going to do is bring my thread up to the eye. I'm going to bring it back down to where I tied off the first time. I'm going to tie my wing. You need that thread base down so that way you can tie in your wings easily without them sliding all over, because you don't want to be tying on a bare shank. I like to use the niche poly yarn in dun. I don't for a size 16 I leave the hank full. 18 I'll half the hank. 20 I'll quarter the hank. But just cut off yourself a piece. About 4 inches or so will make this fly a lot easier to tie. What I like to do is I wrap it around my thread, bring it down in, and then split them. a figure 8. Just take 2 figure 8s and then bring your thread 2 turns forward. And then you're going to tie in your second wing. You're going to need an additional piece. You can go about just as long or a little bit shorter, a little bit longer. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to wrap it around my thread and place it where I want it. 1 turn to anchor. And then split. This one can be a little bit fun to split since the other wing's already there. It's a very simple fly to tie, but it sure can give you a headache sometimes. But once you get that initial figure 8 in there, it'll make it a lot easier to figure 8 the wings. Now on a triple wing, you'd squeeze in another one. Now I'm going to dub. Dubbing I'm using is Rust Superfine. With Superfine dubbing, make sure that you dub it extremely tight. Just use a teeny tiny bit and just dub it extremely tight. The water's not going to absorb to the dubbing. What it's going to do is it's going to absorb in between the fibers. So the looser it is, the more likely it's going to start catching water and sink. I'm going to pull these guys up and wrap in front. I'm going to take 1 figure 8 wrap over the front one. I'm going to take my 2 wraps in between. I'm going to figure 8 this guy. I need a little more dubbing. Okay, I just need a little more dubbing. Remember, keep your dubbing nice and tight. You don't want to, when you're dubbing these flies, you don't want to separate the wings with a lot of dubbing, because you're going to want those to blend in together. It's a very simple fly to tie. It can just give you a headache sometimes. But I was fishing with a friend yesterday, and I was using one of these flies. And oops, bumped the camera. Sorry about that. And I was getting fish to come up for it that weren't even on the rise. Got those in there nice. Just going to build this up a little bit here in the front. Simulate the front portion of the abdomen, which doesn't have a wing. I'm just going to build myself up a little rusty head and go into the lip finish. And this just looks like a big old mess right now, but you want to make sure you didn't, anybody that you caught underneath, simply take those guys out. What I like to do is I got a little fly tying comb, and I like to just comb out all those fibers. Get them combed out. Anybody who's unruly, doesn't want to go with the flow, just chop them off. Get them out of there. Don't even waste your time playing around with them. Now to get the wing, I always do it from looking from underneath. The easiest way is to just sweep them up and back, and then just bring your scissors in from your side. And now the wing, it should be about halfway back on your quarter of the way back on the tail, because it's going to be your full body, the size of your full body, but because your front wing's back from the eye of the hook, so you got to account for that much. So you're looking about right about there. Just push everybody back forward. Nice and easy. And then what I like to do, what you do is you come in, point your scissors. Once again, I like to do this try to do it from the underneath, but point your scissors right at the back portion of the abdomen and just cut right across. The beauty of this fly is, as you can see, the back wing's smaller than the front wing, so it can't. What you'll find a problem with one wing poly spinner is that once it starts getting waterlogged, the poly, it'll tend to sweep back, and then it's actually a very poor imitation of a mayfly spinner. Just do the same thing. Angle your scissors on an angle and point them in there. Just cut them back. You don't have to get too picky, but with all that material in there, you can shape them all you want. You know, getting them to be the. You know, you can really do a. If you're good with the scissors at making shapes, you can really get a dead-on wing. Well, then what I like to do after I got my shape to what I'm satisfied with is I just stroke them out. Stroke them out and then just fine tune that shape. This will always be somebody that was tucked and you end up missing. But the beauty is you can see from the other side, it gives a nice broad wing profile. And it's a fantastic fly. With the niche poly yarn, it just floats and floats. You can catch fish after fish. You don't need floating on it. And it's just a fantastic fly. The wings will stay in shape because of the double wing. You tie triple wings, they stay in shape even better. But the double wing holds its shape fantastically. And it's just a great fly pattern. And I'm Johnny Utah. Check me out on my site, www.utahsflycorner.com. Thanks for watching.
Keep on rolling, just a